Righto, ladies and gents, do you have your cups of tea ready? Because we're starting another Tumble Library thing right now. I've come back from work and so I'm scabby and I stink of coffee. Stink. But I'm going to spend this time to, today I will be doing Oscar Wilde. Because I've just, as a classical writer, all of these don't have to be classical by the way, but as a classical writer, I've just fallen in love with him, basically. It's I'm still discovering more of his work and that, but I don't know, there's just that sort of real happy little buzz you get when you find a writer from a long time ago, which still kind of resonates in your head and is still entertaining, because so many of them aren't entertaining, you know? So, I'll be telling you about him. That was my long introduction. So, first of all, the first book I read of Oscar Wilde, after hearing about his reputation and that, is one of those writers which you just hear about but you don't experience really. You know, it's a reputation. But the first book I read was Dorian Gray, which is fantastic. I really love it. I actually heard it from an audiobook first, and then I got the book for my mum actually, so I've just nicked it. But the audiobook recording was a bit, because it was an amateur done one, but it was really genuinely good. The story of The Picture of Dorian Gray you probably already know. It's a very beautiful young man who's sort of gradually revered and corrupted, and he has a painting done of him, where the artist kind of puts his life and soul into it, because the artist, bit of gay subtext, but you know, the artist is basically in love with him, either whether that's an artistic thing or actually a romantic thing, you know, whatever. But so he makes this picture and Dorian, it's perfect, and Dorian wishes that he could remain as beautiful as the picture would, because he gets really worried about beauty decaying, and you know, as we all do, we're all scared of getting old. So he wants it to stay perfect. He wants to stay perfect. And through a twist of fate, he does. The picture takes on all the corruption of his life. So the painter's best friend is a bit of a corrupting influence, and Dorian is absolutely taken with that. Goes into the whole philosophy of being corrupted, and this picture decays and gets nasty because he's getting nasty, and it's absolutely fascinating. The book is genuinely one of my favourites. I mean, out of just books, it's written lovely, and it's actually quite a simple story, but just watching this progression is really interesting. So there you go, well worth a read. And the Penguin ones you can pick up for about £6, these ones, which is apparently $8. So there you go. Or you can go on Amazon and get it for about 5p, I don't know. So that's A Picture of Dorian Gray, yet again fantastic. And I also have read now, oh there's my bookmark, sorry, lost my bookmark. Anyway, I've read The Importance of Being Earnest as well, which is, as you can see, a very slim play, which is an Oscar Wilde play. It's had a lot of films done about it, in which the lovely Colin Firth is in, but I haven't watched that yet. It's a farce, basically. It's this man makes up, the blurb says it better, but basically this man makes up a fake brother so that he has an excuse to go into town. His best friend, who's called Algernon, I like him, but he has made up a fake old person so he has an excuse to go into the country. And basically Algernon ends up posing as Jack, who's the main character's fake brother Ernest, and oh, hilarity ensues. It's a silly, silly little play. It's one of these Victorian farces, you know. It's just delightful and dandy and silly. And I don't know, you wouldn't get away with it nowadays. You know, we're all too cynical. It's just genuine entertainment. And also, this is the thing, is that about Oscar Wilde in general, is that he has this wit and kind of cynicism, but in a really kind of good way. It's sort of like a warm cynicism, if you understand. Just the way he sees things is just, you know, spot on and entertaining, and so you feel like you're kind of just having a talk with like an old friend in a way. I mean, the way I say it, because, you know, but I always think reading Oscar Wilde, just the way the words sort of flow over you and you interact with them the way it is like taking a warm bath. It's just comforting and lovely, you know. I mean, and I get that same sort of feeling, not with so much with the wit and the wittiness and intelligence of it, because it's a completely different thing. But you know, like when I see Jane Austen films, it's that sort of warm bubble bath kind of sort of genuine joy, I think, of it, and you don't really get that in a lot of places, you know. So and like I say, it's witty and very intelligent, cutting, and it's fascinating, especially when you kind of get into the whole history about the writer. To put it this way, it's charmed me, basically. It's just taken me in, and I'm just loving reading more. Like at the minute, I've read the short story The Happy Prince, which is another one of his, that is just complete little fairy tale. It's just sweet, and yeah, it's pure Victorian-y, Edwardian-y style, but lovely. So I'll stop saying lovely over and over again and just say definitely check it out. If you're wanting classic literature, you don't want to be bored off your face, because some of them are boring, let's face it, very dull, then definitely go for these. Oscar Wilde, it should be on your list, I think. So, now you see, I would read out a bit to you, but it's really difficult trying to find a bit of it. This is not entertaining for you, bear with me. Alright, okay. I'm going to read you like a paragraph out of the first chapter of Dorian Gray, just so you can get a feel for how it sounds, if you don't mind. So just sit back. Okay, so the chapter 1 is: the studio was filled with the rich odour of roses, and when the light summer wind stirred amidst the trees of the garden, there came through the open door the heavy scent of lilac, or the more delicate perfume of the pink flowering thorn. From the corner of the divan of the Persian saddlebags on which he was laying, smoking, as was his custom, innumerable cigarettes, Lord Henry Wotton could just catch the gleam of the honey-sweet and honey-coloured blossoms of a laburnum, whose tremulous branches seemed hardly able to bear the burden of a beauty so flame-like as theirs. And now and then the fantastic shadows of birds in flight flitted across the long truss of silk curtains that were stretched out in front of the huge window, producing a kind of momentary Japanese effect, but making him think of those pallid jade-faced painters of Tokyo who, through the medium of an art that is necessarily immobile, seek to convey the sense of swiftness and motion. The sullen murmur of the bees shouldering their way through the long, unmown grass, or circling with a monotonous insistence round the dusty gilt horns of the struggling woodbine, seemed to make the stillness more oppressive. The dim roar of London was like a bourdon note of distant organ. In the centre of the room, clamped to an upright easel, stood the full-length portrait of a young man of extraordinary personal beauty, and in front of it, some little distance away, was sitting the artist himself, Basil Hallward, whose sudden disappearance some years ago caused, at the time, such public excitement and gave rise to so many strange conjectures. Yeah, so as you can see, it's often quite flowery, but it doesn't maintain that, if you see what I mean. That doesn't get in the way of it. You can see just the writer enjoying description, put it that way, but it doesn't take away from the story, whereas I've found in some classical stuff it kind of does. So, yeah, so check it out. You can even find them online for free. I think it's the www.theoscarwildecollection.com or something like that. All of his stuff, including Dorian Gray, his poems, everything he's done is free online, because obviously you've not got your copyright thing, because it's been like 200 years, so, well, 100 years. So, yeah, so that's there. So I would recommend you go find it, and If there's any other fans, you know, let me know, because it's cool. And so that was your Tumble Library for this instance. I'm hardly going to say it's a weekly thing, because it isn't. So, cheers. I hope you enjoy. Carry on reading, and please make your own videos and send them to me so that we can have like a little library project going. So, love and cups of tea.